We've all seen the really impressive, almost magical demos of generative AI, right? But for a large enterprise, that initial excitement about a new model, it gives way to a much more serious question. How do we actually use this in production? You see, the real challenge isn't just about getting access to the latest large language model. It's about embedding that power deep into your core business processes in a way that's secure, scalable, and, frankly, responsible. So let's explore how to bridge that massive gap.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start by really digging into the unique challenges enterprises face when they try to get AI into production. Then we'll look at SAP's guiding principles for dealing with those challenges. After that, we'll introduce SAP AI Core, which is the engine that brings it all to life, and we'll even take a peek under the hood to see how it works. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about what enterprise-grade really means and what the future of governed AI innovation looks like. All right, let's get right to the heart of the problem. There's a huge gap between building a cool AI prototype in a lab and actually running that same AI in a live production environment, one that's handling sensitive customer data and mission-critical business operations.
And that really brings us to the central question for just about any technology leader today. How do you close that gap? How do you take artificial intelligence from being this promising but kind of isolated experiment and turn it into a fully operational, enterprise-grade system that you can actually count on day in and day out? The risks here are way bigger than just technical glitches. We're talking about massive, business-critical issues. Things like confidential data leaking out or someone using malicious prompt injection to mess with your system. Without proper governance, you have no audit trail, you get inconsistent results, and you're staring down the barrel of major compliance violations like GDPR. I mean, these are the exact challenges that keep CIOs up at night, and they absolutely demand a systematic solution.
Now, to solve problems this complex, you need more than just good technology. You really need a philosophy. And that brings us to SAP's guiding principles. This is the why that drives their entire business AI strategy.
SAP's whole approach to enterprise AI is built on these three core pillars: relevant, reliable, and responsible. Now, these aren't just marketing buzzwords. They are the fundamental design principles that guide the development of every single AI solution. Let's break down what each one actually means in practice.
First up, relevant. Look, a generic AI model has no idea about the status of your top 5 sales orders. To be genuinely useful, AI has to be grounded in your specific, real-time business context. This is all about making sure its answers are based on your company's actual data, not just its generic training. Next, reliable. In an enterprise setting, this is completely non-negotiable. It means you have to create a secure and governed environment for every AI interaction. So instead of letting individual apps make these risky direct calls to external models, you need a centralized, secure entry point, like the Generative AI Hub. That approach is what prevents data exposure and makes sure every single interaction is auditable and under your control. And finally, responsible. This is about acknowledging that AI can inherit biases from its training data and then proactively building in safeguards to ensure fairness and transparency. It's about committing to a strict ethical framework that includes human oversight. And you have to understand, these three principles aren't separate things, they're deeply interconnected. You just can't have a reliable AI system that isn't also relevant and responsible. So, the big question is, how does SAP actually turn these principles into practice? Well, the answer lies in the technology that underpins their entire business AI strategy, SAP AI Core. At its heart, SAP AI Core is a service that lives on the SAP Business Technology platform. Its entire job is to handle the execution and operations of your AI assets. Now, the key words to focus on here are standardized, scalable, and hyperscaler agnostic. It's built from the ground up to manage the whole AI lifecycle in a consistent way, no matter which cloud provider or hyperscaler you happen to be using. And just to be crystal clear, SAP AI Core is not a model playground for you to do some casual experimentation. It is an execution and orchestration layer, and it is designed for one thing: operationalization. It's really the difference between an ad hoc, ungoverned interaction and a fully integrated, secure, and governed lifecycle management system that's built for serious enterprise applications.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the architecture and the operational flow of SAP AI Core.
This diagram here gives you a great high-level view of where AI Core fits into the whole SAP ecosystem. As you can see, it sits right there on the SAP Business Technology platform, and it acts as the central orchestrator. It's the critical link connecting your SAP applications and your business data with all the different models available through the Generative AI Hub. This setup ensures that every AI interaction flows through a trusted, controlled channel, giving you a single point of governance and control. So one of the really key features of AI Core is its modern automated deployment process. It actually uses a GitOps workflow. What that means is that all of your AI configurations are stored in a Git repository. Then a tool called Argo CD automatically synchronizes those configurations to a Kubernetes cluster. This creates a repeatable, automated, and auditable CI/CD pipeline for all your AI assets, which is absolutely essential for enterprise-grade operations.
And what's powering all this? Well, there are several key components. You've got Kubernetes for container orchestration and scaling. There's built-in multi-tenancy to provide secure isolation. The SAP AI Launchpad gives you a nice central UI to manage all your AI scenarios, and a really robust AI API allows for programmatic control over the entire lifecycle.
And all this brings us to the real value proposition. What is the fundamental difference this enterprise-grade approach makes? Well, it all comes down to one thing: governed workflows.
Because, let's be honest, for any serious business use case, a simple, direct API call to a language model is never, ever enough. You're just exposing data, and you have zero control. What you actually need is a controlled, repeatable, and secure orchestration workflow that wraps every single one of those calls in layers of enterprise-grade governance.
This slide does a great job illustrating that orchestration workflow. Before a prompt ever even gets near a large language model, it goes through a series of steps to make sure it's both relevant and secure. First, it gets standardized using prompt templating. Then it's injected with that real-time business context through grounding. Next, any sensitive information is anonymized with data masking. And finally, both the input and the model's output are scanned by content filtering. It's this multi-layered approach that makes sure governance is baked into the process, not just some afterthought.
Okay, let's bring this all together. What does all this mean for the future of AI in the enterprise? Well, it means we need to shift our focus from just the model itself to the system that's built around it. At the end of the day, true sustainable innovation with AI isn't a race to have the newest, biggest model. It's about having the discipline to build a robust, reliable, and responsible system to operationalize any model, today's and tomorrow's. That is what delivers real business value and actually mitigates risk.
If you take just one thing away from this, let it be this. For the enterprise, the future of AI is not about trends, it's about systems.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Take a hard look at your own strategy. Is your organization just building a bunch of AI experiments, or are you truly engineering an AI-powered enterprise? Because the difference between those two approaches, well, that's what's going to define the winners and losers of this next technological shift.